guess what day it is? Yeah. We're back. We're back, folks. It's your guy, Kyven Gatson. Remember, you can follow me at Gatson Strong on any social media platform. And then you can follow
me, Todd Small, T Small 28 on Twitter. And then on Instagram, it's Todd_Small 28.
And if you want, like, subscribe, TK Talks on YouTube as we continue to traverse this podcast world. But I'm really excited for today. We have a special guest. Our first special guest.
Our first guest. This is going down in history.
Yes.
The very first.
The first. So, I'll introduce him. This is Jerome Ward. He was a college teammate of mine. I consider him a brother, a friend, even a coach in some aspects, but we'll get into that later in my life personally. But super excited to have Jerome. Got to watch him growing up and then just getting into Ames and Iowa State. He was somebody I bonded with closely, and so super excited to have him here and just learn more about him, and hopefully you guys enjoy this one. So, Jerome, welcome.
Thank you.
So, let's get into it. Jerome, obviously, let's just get a little background about you. Like, where are you from?
I'm originally from Chicago.
Okay. And is that like, did you start your wrestling career in Chicago?
Yeah, I started my wrestling career in 8th grade.
8th grade, okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So you started a little late compared to a lot of people.
Yeah. Most kids had about 6, 7 years on me.
Yeah, I was about to say most kids are starting.
I started wrestling.
Okay. Like, what was that like though? Like, so obviously, so I started at like 6.5, right? So you're 8th grade, 13, probably.
13, yep.
Yeah. So, like, what's that like starting a new sport at that age?
Because I feel like you definitely had to be somebody that was in football. You got the build to be like a football player.
Definitely, that's how it came about.
Right.
We had a wrestling coach come into school from like Wheeling, Illinois, somewhere out in the sticks, and he wanted to bring wrestling to the inner city, and so he joined the football team and asked that anyone who played football come out for wrestling for a week. Mm-hmm. And our football team was small enough where, we can oblige that. And I came out for a week and I just never left. It was just like, one of those things that I just felt confident in immediately, dominant in. I mean, I'm wrestling other kids who don't know nothing about wrestling either. Right. And half of the practices was just chaos because, we're trying to do WWE, WWF moves on people and just trying to get the order. But once I figured it out, it was all she wrote.
Right, yeah. So when you were in Illinois, were there any, like, as you began to, like, evolve in the sport and get bigger, was there any, like, clubs that you went to or anything like that, or was it just mostly hometown stuff?
So once I got rolling, right, because I started late, so then I moved to the south side of Chicago, and then that's when I joined the Harvey Twisters.
Oh, okay.
If you guys don't
shout out Harvey Twisters.
It's one of the, in my opinion, it is the best kids program in the nation. But, we've had some crazy guys come out of there, real good world-class athletes that are even competing right now, on the high levels. So.
Okay, so stop. So Harvey Twisters, right? So if you had to, because I'm gonna put you on the spot right now, like, so if you had to put your Mount Rushmore of Harvey Twisters, who's on that list? And then even maybe if as you go deeper, maybe ones that were really good in life situations, whatever transpired, and we maybe didn't get to experience or see what they could do.
So Mount Rushmore, that's what, 4, right?
4.
I got to pick 4.
You can pick 4. I could give you 5. They're probably gonna change it at some point, right?
They Hawkeyes, but
oh no!
Yeah, we all Cyclones.
We got Joe Williams, Steve Williams, T.J. Williams, and then I'll say Tony Davis.
Oh, Tony Davis. Okay.
And then honorable mention well, a couple of these guys, they're still being written, but
Right.
you said we didn't really get to see him because of life situations.
Yeah.
I go with Travis Hammonds.
Okay.
That dude was an absolute monster.
Yeah.
But, as you said, life situations,
Right.
he didn't get the opportunities that would have put him in the spotlight.
Right. I got you. Man, and it's Coach Quint, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Contrell.
Coach. Yeah. I remember coming up and being at Tulsa, and there wasn't a lot of, black kids in the sport. And so, like, I remember one time going to, like, a small town in Iowa, and I'm like, Dad, where are all the other kids that, look like me? And he, kind of, pulled me to the side and was like, look, there isn't a bunch of kids in the sport right now that look like you. And so if you're going to do it, you need to do it, and you need to do it at a high level. You need to do it well. And anytime at like a Tulsa or Adidas Nationals or Brute Nationals, anytime you saw a Harvey Twister, like, you knew they were doing it well. You know what I mean? Like, you knew you were in for a battle. You knew they were going to be athletic, but more than that, you knew they were going to be well trained. Like, they had great skills mentally. Like, they seemed to be a little bit more maybe developed at the ages that I bumped into them often, and so I appreciate, although I haven't got to meet Coach Quintrell, I appreciate what he has done in wrestling with the Harvey Twisters for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say I can kind of relate to like how you came up with the wrestling thing, because I started wrestling probably, I want to say, like halfway through 7th grade, like basically 8th grade as well. And mine kind of started the same way. It was like I got I was always a football guy, and then I got a flyer in the mail, and I asked my dad, like, should I try out for wrestling or whatever? And he's like, yeah, because my dad's from PA. He wrestled, big wrestling background in PA, and so then I decided to do it. And went to a few little club practices, and then, like, before I knew it, I was like, man, I love this, right? Yeah. Like, and I wasn't even that good at it. It was just, I was just like, man, I get to kind of like beat people up without, like, getting in trouble, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
yeah. And so,
wait, so that was your vibe too, Jerome?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's like kind of how it started too. And so when you said that, I was like, okay, that clicked, because I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I got into it. And then, like, for me, it was one of those things where, like, I was still playing football up until about freshman year, and then it was kind of one of those things where you gotta choose, right? Like, you gotta pick, for me at least,
right?
Because I'm not some big yoked up guy that can just be like, oh, I can go football route, or I can, I knew if I went football, I had to put on some more weight, and so I just felt like going with wrestling because I was just so in love with the sport at the time. So that's kind of how I got started too. So
yeah, what was it while you were? I think once you're a Harvey Twister, you're always a Harvey Twister. But what was it that you saw Coach Quint do that you feel like was maybe ahead of his time, innovative, or like how is he able to do what he's done in the space that he's done it and do it at such a high level?
To be honest, I don't know. So this is just my personal opinion. It's just his generosity, his heart. He literally poured his heart into these kids. And when I watched him, just even from an outside perspective, because in 8th grade, we went to the tournament, see the Twisters. I'm like, dang, there's a bunch of black kids, and they not running around acting crazy. Like, if you ever been to a kids tournament, it's bananas,
wild,
right?
Right. Wild.
So, and they not, I'm like, man, they move different, they act different. And then I see, like, the respect he was getting from the kids. And then when you talk to, like, the Albert Whites of the world,
yeah, like,
he changed their lives. It wasn't about wrestling. It was about having a father figure. It was about, investing in someone's, dreams, interests, and not for selfish reasons or to get something back in return. And I think that meant the most, and that's what garnered so much respect and driven. These kids, you ask any of these kids, to this day, they didn't want to fail in front of him. You know what I mean? And it wasn't that you couldn't fail or that he demanded that you didn't. It's just that he put so much into you. You just felt like you was letting him down, and you couldn't live with yourself, knowing
Right.
that you didn't go out there and give it your all.
Right. And that's what he wanted, right? He just wanted he wanted to know when you walked off the mat that you did what you were trained to do and did it to the best of your ability.
And he let you know when you didn't. He was straight up with you.
Right.
Straight up with you all the way. So
Yeah.
didn't sugarcoat you, didn't,
Man, that's awesome. And like so 8th grade, you get over to Harvey Twisters in like 9th or 10th or like right away?
10th grade.
Oh,
10th
so
Is when I started.
okay, so like 2
So
years.
I could tell you the the story, right? Because one, the Twisters is a kids club, right? So now that I discovered wrestling in 8th grade. So now I go to 9th grade. I'm still on the north side of Chicago. The Twisters are out in Harvey, which is probably about 170 some blocks south of me. So
Okay.
so I'm not making that transition. And then once I moved to the south side, my sophomore year, I completed that season, and then that's when I was like, okay, I got to do something different. And I already had Albert White on my team, who was going to be a 4-timer. He wasn't a 4-timer yet, and he just told me, come by the gym, talk to Quint. And so I came by, talked to him, and he was skeptical. He's like, I don't know, I don't know what your intentions are or this. And, of course, because, people are headaches. And he was like, all right, we'll think about it. Well, I'm like, all right, I'm taking this bus again. I'm going to just come up here. And so I just showed up. He's like, what you doing here? I didn't tell you to come here. I was like, yeah, we supposed to talk about it again. He goes, well, I didn't give you a date. I was like, I know, but you said we was going to talk about it. I don't know. He was like, you know what? I'm going to let you practice today, but don't get too comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. So then I practiced, and then, I don't know if he told other people to do this, but other people came in and like, what's he doing here? What's he doing here? I'm like, oh, crap, they about to get me up out of here. But then we talked afterwards. He goes, you know what? It took a lot of guts for you to come over here because, I lived all the way on 95th, and I had to go to 147th, and we in the trenches,
Right.
by the way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't no short ride. This is a 2.5-hour bus drive that I just took.
2.5 hours?
2.5 hours.
Ooh.
It's
By
city
yourself?
driving. Yeah, I've done that my whole life, just in Chicago. I always, public transportation, that's just,
I mean,
it's just normal. You know what
So
I mean? If that's what you do.
15 years old, 2.5 hour bus drive, like to just to get to practice, not even knowing if you're gonna be able to like practice.
Right.
or even know what.
But see, that 2.5 hours gave me the time. I got to talk. I got to say something.
Right.
I gotta make it sound good somehow and whatnot. But again, like I said, he's got a big, tough exterior, but he's a soft-hearted person. And I don't know, maybe he saw something in me or saw it in my eyes that I was determined and whatnot. And of course, I had others to vouch for me.
Right.
Who I became friends with, like Christian Brantley.
Oh, you and I, yep.
You and I wrestler.
Okay.
So.
I didn't realize Christian was a twister.
Oh yeah.
Cause when he was in college at UNI, I was in Waterloo. I was living in Waterloo, so I would go up and practice with UNI. Kind of like we talked about last time we were on. So I didn't realize Christian was, and so Christian, yourself, Albert White,
BJ Futrell.
Oh, you're all in the same
okay.
cohort, huh?
I'm a year older than BJ, so he wasn't in the 07. He was 08. So we were all.
But like in that 3 to 4 year time span. Who else is in that?
There's a lot. I don't even know. Cartiz Lloyd. You probably don't even know him. I'm trying to think who all went to college. Oh no, I can't think of the names off the top of my head. It's been a while.
Yeah, but that's, right there, that's 4.
Let's see. Mario Morgan. He's
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's coaching right now. So
Yeah. Where's he at? Do you know where he's coaching at?
Is it Merrimack, I believe?
Okay. And then
Or is it UNO? I know he went to UNO, but I
Right.
don't think he's coaching the UNO.
but then Albert went to Okie State,
Yep,
right? And then he is at Little Rock.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Little Rock, Arkansas, the Division One down. Yeah, okay.
DJ's at Penn.
Oh, wow. So y'all got a whole tree, a whole twister tree.
Oh yeah. It's a good
Okay.
amount of us. We're out here.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And so like, well, now that we're talking about coaching, are you coaching?
I'm coaching high school over at Ballard. Just 15 minutes remains.
Okay,
Assistant coaching.
okay, awesome. So wait, so like once you got, well, now we'll come back to that. But so how did your high school career end up?
Better than expected. That's for sure. I never thought I would be a state champion. I just love the sport, and I just felt like I could beat anybody.
Yeah.
That's just that blind ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
But once I started getting more technical and understanding wrestling, it went the way I wanted to go. Won 2 state titles. I was undefeated in my weight class, but I had 2 losses outside of the weight class because, again, like I felt like I could beat anyone, so I was going to challenge everybody. Anyone who was close to the weight class, if I can get there, I would challenge them.
So what were your what weight class were your last 2 years at?
189.
Okay, both of them. Okay.
And so, so you said you started 10th grade was at the Harvey Twisters, and then so my question for you is, were you at a high school where you were able to get good partners throughout the week, and then just be able to pick days that you wanted to go to Harvey Twisters, or was it kind of a thing where you had to do high school practice, but it was mandatory that you had to go to Harvey Twisters because you just didn't have the partners? Because I know for me, that's how it was for me. I didn't have the partners in high school, so I go to high school practice, and then right after high school practice, I go home, eat a little bit, and then I shoot right over to my club practice just so I can get some good partners, And so I was wondering if that was...
When I moved to the south side, I was coming from the north side, and we had a all right team.
Right.
But I was coming to a school, St. Rita, a Catholic school. They were already 2-time defending state champions as a team. So the practices were tough, and everybody was solid. As far as the talent, there wasn't much talent at my weight or in the upper weights or whatnot. So yeah, after practice, I would go to Harvey, and they only practice 3. It's a kids club, so there's only 3 days a week. And what we would do was we have other older Harvey Twisters come over too, and then we all get together and wrestle.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's like kids club after kids club.
Right.
At the kids club.
Man, have fight club after kids club, just like sharpening. Iron sharpens iron. That's the adage, right?
Yeah.
Man.
So when did you when was college like a thing that was on your mind with the wrestling? Like what year do you think in high school were you really starting to think like I'm gonna take this to the college level because this is what I want to keep doing?
I would say after my junior year, I had some political problems in football, and I really started to contemplate not playing football anymore.
Right.
And I was like, all right, maybe I should just focus on wrestling because I just don't want to deal with the politics of it all. But me, I'm stubborn. I'm not big on quitting. I'm maybe to a fault. So I stuck it out, and then I realized, like, okay, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna do this on the next level. I set on this journey here. I'm gonna finish what I start, but I'm not gonna go to the next level with this. And then out of nowhere, Mark Manning calls me from Nebraska. He's like, hey, have you thought about college wrestling? And like an idiot, no. But I hadn't. I honestly hadn't. I hadn't thought.
Did you know?
Yeah. I want to recruit you. And we had another guy, Mikey Benefield.
Okay.
He wrestled at Okie State.
Yeah.
And I think Northwestern. And he's like, yeah, I want to get you guys, and we're trying to build a team out here in Nebraska, blah, blah, blah. And So I'm like, okay, this might be a thing because, I mean, I wasn't paying for college. I didn't have it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not paying for it. So if that's the case, then I'm not going to college. It
Right.
wasn't real for me.
Right,
You know?
right,
And plus,
yeah.
I hardly knew anyone who went to college.
Mm-hmm.
So then I get a call from Kel, and he's like, yeah, we want you to come out to Iowa State. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I had to go look him up because I didn't know who Kel Sanderson was.
I was just stop it.
I started wrestling in 8th grade. I
Right,
don't know
right.
who these guys are.
Yeah.
I know who John Smith is because you're not going to believe this, but I got a John Smith, was it like a cassette? It was a cassette tape, VHS from Ben Peterson.
Oh, and technique and stuff, right? Like,
Yeah, because Ben Peterson was Beat the Streets coach
Oh,
in Chicago.
yeah.
And he would come by with his medals, and I'm like, man, this old man don't know nothing about no wrestling. Until he rolled me up.
Right? As I was saying, until he put hands on
He
you.
was like, he had to be close to 70 when he put the beat down on me. So
not
and
70.
I was like 14. I was like, nah. I was like, this dude's strong for an old man. But, you know.
Well, 72. No, he old.
So this would have been
60 at
this would've
least.
been-
Oh, gosh.
This would have been 2004.
So,
So I don't know how old he is
well,
now.
because he wrestled in 72 and won silver in 76. So you got to
So
think
maybe he
he,
was like 50. Maybe he just looked older. I don't know.
yeah, he does look a little bit older,
Yeah.
but he definitely wasn't 70. So we're not gonna put that on.
No,
him.
he's not 70. That makes me feel better, though. You know? That makes me feel better. 'Cause I ain't have a chance.
That's serious. So when Kale called and Mark called, did you know they were
I didn't know who they were.
at all?
Nope. I thought it was a scam. Because, you know, scams was getting big. The phone call scams was getting big. I'm like, oh, okay. So I listened to them, took numbers down and information. Then I went and talked to my mom, and she's like, okay, don't you think you should hand that off to your coach or whatever? So I'm like, okay, I got to hand this off to my coach. So I immediately handed it off to Quint
Yeah.
because I'm like, I see how he moves. I didn't want to hand it off to my high school coach, no disrespect to him. You know, I love him. But I knew he was going to make sure that I was going to get in right.
Right.
And
Right.
that I wasn't going to screw myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then he's like, yeah, this dude keeps calling about you, you know, this Kel Sanderson guy, you should probably look into it or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, and then he set up a visit for me.
So then did you actually look him up or what?
Yeah, I looked him up. I watched it was Kel Sanderson versus Les Gutchinson. That was the first match I ever seen of Kel, and I was like, man, this dude is crazy good at getting on the legs.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up losing the match to a throw, but I was just like, wow, this dude is good. Then I
Right.
started looking into it. So
And so this was his Olympic trials finals, the best 2 out of
So
3,
when he-
or was the Open that year?
no, Kel was done. Kel was at Iowa State at this time. 'Cause
Okay.
I graduated 07.
Right.
So I had recently watched, you know, the NCAA's for the first time that year, 07. So then things started making sense.
Right.
So
Dang, that's amazing. So then, all right, you set up your visit to Iowa State. Kale's the head coach now at Iowa State, and so you come on your visit. What's that like? Is that the only visit you went on?
I went to Iowa Central, and I stopped in Iowa City. I ain't want to tell nobody that. I even committed to Iowa City verbally.
No, you didn't.
No, that's
Yeah, that made
crazy.
for a very awkward conversation when I got to Iowa.
Oh snaps! So you verbally committed to Tom, or was it Zaleski at the time?
It was Tom Brands and West Ham.
Yes.
West Ham. Yes.
Ooh.
So you go to Iowa Central first. So like you're doing a 3-stop trip.
Well, unfortunately, my grades weren't where they supposed to. Hence the trip to
Right.
Iowa Central.
Right.
You know, so that was just a contingency plan. It was okay if I don't get my grades in or I don't score high enough, we'll just go to Iowa Central for 2 years and then we'll transfer over
Right.
and whatnot. But what I ended up doing was going over to Iowa Central. Iowa Central took me on my first visit. That was the first place I
Was that with Luke
like
Moffitt?
Moffitt was like,
Shout out Moffitt.
"Come on, you gotta get down here. We gotta get you down here, whatever." And then he brought Nate Carr, Jr. with them.
Okay.
So I'm with them, hanging out, whatever. He's like, "Didn't you commit to?" So he don't know. Didn't you commit to Iowa? Yeah. It was like, we're gonna stop over there and get a workout on the way home. I'm like, ooh, because I haven't spoke to nobody.
Right.
But so then I had to go and talk, and then I tell them, they're like, "What?" Tom's just looking at me like, "Are you insane? Like what did you do?"
like who shut off his phone? Like shut off.
And
your
then
phone.
so then he's like, "Mark, go talk to him." So Perry was there, and he's like, "Why don't you just go talk to him in the locker room?" And like, so then I had to sit down and talk with Mark. Perry, he's a real easygoing guy. He was easy to talk to because Tom was intimidating. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, and I watched his videos and whatnot, and I'm like, man, yeah, this dude intense. I'm like, I don't know if I could get him off me.
Right.
If I make him mad.
Right.
So, but Mark was an easygoing guy. He talked to me a little bit, and he's just like, well, you made your decision. You do what was best for you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't no hard feelings.
Well, that's why Mark's probably not employed there anymore. You're out here telling people you can do what's best for you. But he's doing this thing at Sunkiss. I like Mark too. I like Mark a lot.
He's just a realist.
Yeah.
So.
And so at that point, you had committed to Cale and Iowa State.
Right.
And okay, so then.
So you only went on a visit to Iowa Central.
Only went on a visit.
Only a visit, okay.
And then it doubled as a visit to Iowa.
Because Moffitt is he a Hawkeye. He a former Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To the bone.
Right.
To the bone.
Right.
And whatnot. So then my trip to Iowa State, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
Iowa State was not what it is today.
Right.
As far as the visual, the stadium was terrible.
Football,
it looked like a high school stadium. I was like, wow, this is like, what am I doing? But then once you sit down and you speak with Cale, it changed my whole perspective. I'm like, man, I'm not here to hang out. I'm not here to enjoy the anonymity of Iowa State.
Right.
Like I'm here to try to become a national champion. So, I was more so sold on Cale Sanderson than I was on Iowa State in the history of Iowa State wrestling because I didn't know the history of Iowa State wrestling.
Right.
So.
And he broke it down to you. And so like when Cale was talking to you, right, you're 18 years old, and you find out obviously after your research that he's a 4-time undefeated NCAA champion, 159-0, goes on, wins Olympic gold. What was your thought process when you're like, I'm gonna get to wrestle with this guy?
My thought process was, man, if I could just get a couple takedowns on this dude, I know my takedown offense is going to be amazing. And then I'm just thinking, this dude's going to make me better. I didn't see an ego with him. I seen a very humble person, soft-spoken, just personable. I'm like, and I saw what he did with Varner, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is definitely where I need to be. And we're close to weight. I'm like, who can say they can go and then their wrestling partner is an Olympic champion?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then the person that you're gonna be training with is
was a future Olympic champion.
Future Olympic champion. And he was so before you even got to wrestle with him, he was a NCAA Was he an
two-time
NCAA
finalist before I got to wrestle with him.
Okay, wait, so
because I was
10,
injured
9.
that first year. I was injured.
Okay.
So I didn't wrestle at all my freshman year.
So like he was moving up to 97
Mm-hmm.
because he had his 2 NCAA finals at 84.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were gonna come in at 84, slide in at 84.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. That's just amazing. So then you get there, you're committed to Iowa State, you get to Iowa State. What was your like welcome to college wrestling moment? Like where you were like, oh my gosh, like, cause like you talked about Ben Peterson and like wrestling him, but like was it wrestling Cale? Was it wrestling Jake? What was that like, and who was
I'd
it?
say Jake Varner gave it to me. It happened fast. We we didn't wrestle much. So that summer, right, that's when I was eligible to wrestle, healthy enough to wrestle. That summer we went out to Utah to do wrestling camps and whatnot. And after every wrestling camp, we partner up and whatnot. And like I've wrestled him a couple of times, and it wasn't like nothing crazy. I'm just like, man, this dude's really strong. But I just remember I had this little high crotch that I would shoot, just high crotch and come up and try to finish high crotch. And then I tried it on him, and he wizarded me so hard, like I went upside down, like you just went inverted. It looked like I was trying to do like a jiu-jitsu roll, it was an arm and artery roll.
Yeah.
Like I inverted, dumped me on my head, and then he started like powering at me. I'm like, wait a minute, this gotta be illegal. Like this don't feel like wrestling. This feels like a fight.
Right.
I had to take a moment and go talk to the trainer. Like, man, I don't know what just happened. Like this man gave me vertigo. Had to find out where the ground was. It's just like, oh man, like hold on, let's start checking myself. Like I've been in car crashes worse than this. Like, I mean, lighter than this, but yeah, it was just like, all right. And then I would get in on shots and just couldn't complete them. Get in on shots. I'm just like, man, this is like, all right, this is different. This is gonna take some skill set. This is chess now. Yeah. This is not checkers. I can't just go shoot. In high school, just being big, strong, athletic, you just shoot. You try that in college, you're gonna be exhausted.
Right.
You're gonna be exhausted, especially after you get spun around once or twice. Because most high schoolers, I would say 90% of high schoolers get spun around when they first come in. That's the first thing that happens. You shoot, and then that spin around, that head and hands defense catch up to you, and you start getting spun around, and it kind of steals your confidence, and now you don't want to shoot.
Right.
You get reserved. But.
And that's kind of like the worst thing too. Is like when
it's
you,
the worst
when you
feeling.
yeah, when you like that ego gets hit, like that ego, like.
And then I had Nick Gallick.
Okay.
Nick Gallick was, he was funny, and he would always bring the bravado. He would be like, when I shoot, I score. When you shoot, I score. So he would say that all the time. And he goes, and when Jake shoots, Jake don't shoot, but you're going to get foot swept and he's going to score. And he would just say stuff like that to me. And it would just bother me. I'm like, man, I hate this dude. But it was all fun and games, man.
Right. Like that, he was out here using the Gable quote, like Gable. That's Gable's quote from back in the day. It's a good adage though, for sure. Like, you make your offense, you make his offense your offense. Like so it's yeah.
So what was something then when you got to college that you were like, all right, this is something I really need to, this is an area or a position that I really need to work on for college wrestling to be successful? Because I know for me, like at least when I came into the Division I level, I was like, okay, I need to get better at the bottom position. Like I got to be able to get up on anybody. Like I felt like I could take, basically in my heart, I felt like I could take anybody down in the country, but I needed to be able to get out on anybody because it wouldn't matter if I take people down and you just roll me up when you get on top. So yeah, same. It was bottom. Yeah. Remember, I started in 8th grade, so I didn't know how to sit out when I got here. Oh, really? Okay. I was a college level athlete, college level wrestler, Division I, and couldn't sit out. I lost 2 matches back to back my freshman year trying to hit a sit out. Was it the one at UNI? What's it called? The National Duels.
Oh yeah.
National Duels, and I'm just like, man, I got caught on my back twice, and the second time I got pinned.
With a suck back, like a suck back.
Yep. Trying to hit a sit out, kick my legs right from under me. I'm just like, oh man, I'm on my butt and just bloop. Yeah. Yeah, and he saw the dude do it to me before, so he's like, as soon as he tries to sit out, I got him because he can't do it. I know he can't do it. I was so mad. So, it was very humbling. And shout out to Eric Volker because he helped me big time with sitting out in that bottom game and understanding how to hold base and things like that. So before that, man, it was rough. Anybody who threw legs was giving me a run for my money. Right. I couldn't stand it. Now it don't bother me,
Yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
But before then, it was just like, and we had Nick Pasolano come in, and that's all I do was. He just throw legs,
Yep.
legs, and he would throw legs and just frustrate me. Then of course, he's got to tease you too.
Right.
On top of that, so then, you be ready to fight by the end of practice.
Right.
Not a point scored on either side, but he's in your head.
Yeah, for sure. It's moments like that. Like when you look back at them now, you're like, these moments help mold me into like the person that I am in terms of just like competitive nature, all those different things, and it's just like it's extremely positive. So I feel you on that, because I remember watching Nick growing up, probably like 04, 05, him getting the pin in Carver, or no, he got the pin in Ames, but him winning in Carver and stuff like that. Shout out to Nick Pasolana, 165 pounds. That's awesome, man.
And it was even worse because he went to the rival high school.
Oh, he's Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So he went to a rival high school. Now I'm like, man, I got this dude from rival high school beat me down.
Right.
Sending text back.
Yeah, back to the crib. Like,
yo, you need to help your boy get ready from bottom. Like, that's crazy. So then, college, your NCAA qualifier, three times. And like you just from what I remember, I came in. You were 97, but I think you were undersized. I was 84, cutting a ton of weight, and then we like flip flopped. But you dealt with a ton of injuries. What transpired with those that I would say maybe hindered you or just didn't allow you really to get to your like full capacity in your mind?
Well, I don't like to make excuses. My wrestling career is what it is.
Right.
But I would say just tearing that ACL, I was never the same. I wasn't the same athlete. I would only have flashes of who I was and before the injury. Then that injury led to having back problems and whatnot. So, I was wrestling on limited mobility.
Yeah.
I couldn't shoot. People were like, man, that Ward kid doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot. It's like, not that I don't, it's just I didn't have the capacity to shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was really helpful that Kale was teaching ankle picks and sweeps. You know what I mean? So I learned how to do sweep singles and ankle picks and snatch singles and things like that, and just trying to change levels but not hit my knee.
Yeah.
And then I think so I had to compensate for these things, right? And then using the head and hands defense. Shout out to KJ, because I mean he changed my wrestling perspective majorly just because he's such a tactician. That were, getting your head in the fight and things like that, underhooks and attacking. I'm like, oh man,
Right.
I was like, I needed this dude a long time ago. I needed this dude since the inception of this injury.
Right. Yeah. A whole new world.
Right.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, he's shooting more. I'm like, actually, I'm not shooting. I'm just getting to the legs without touching my knees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then shout out to Travis Paulson, my brother in arms with no knees. Because I would see that dude hit shots with without going to his knees because, his knees is bad. And I'm like, all right, cool. Okay, it can be done.
It can be, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, then bottom became an issue, when people will ride on my right side. Once the right side covers, I'm like, oh, God, now I'm going to have to try to get this pressure off my knee because I couldn't push up and off like I wanted to.
Yeah. I don't think people really realize how much like turmoil and injuries like wrestlers like go through, and then when they go through them, how they have to like re-engineer themselves.
Yeah.
Like learn like a totally different way of wrestling, find out what works because you didn't have to use it before. And so that's just a testament to really your like tenacity and your grit and your perseverance, because like those injuries, they shut people down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like probably 20 years before that, if someone tore their ACL, they're done.
Right.
Like now you came back from it, but you're still not able to do everything that you were able to do before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to figure out other ways. Like you said, it was chess. Like you have to figure out other ways. So I think that goes to just like your tenacity, your grit, your perseverance, but also just your ability to adapt and the way you think about the sport. You know, the technical tactician side of it, and just your what I like to call like your mad IQ. So, man, shout out to you, because it's not easy, man. It's not easy at all. So
Yeah, it's not.
so like college is over. You just got a master's degree, didn't you?
Nope. I wish I did.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're
It's
still
coming, though.
working.
It's
We're
coming.
grinding. It's a
Okay.
slow grind.
All right, that's all right. That's a slow roast. Slow roast. We call those the slow roast.
Right.
Yeah, that's a slow roast.
This is all right.
And what are you getting your master's in?
In mental health counseling. Well, actually, I had to switch tracks, so now it's rehabilitation.
Okay.
Voc rehab. So,
Okay. And what do you want to do with that?
man, I be honest with you, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna better my community. So
Right.
Got you.
it's for a selfless reason. I'm looking to just help. That's all. Just help somebody somehow, some way, and I haven't put it all together yet.
Right.
But you know,
That's all right. You don't. I don't think you have to have it all put together. And you're a firefighter, so like you're a service man. It's essentially like you serve people in your daily life. You're a coach. You're your husband.
husband to be. We got a date.
Husband to be. You're. That's my bad. You're a dad, but like you serve in essentially every capacity in your life. And so with that, my question is like, what's that like for you, and what does that do for you, like internally?
I honestly, the way I feel about it, I honestly feel guilty about it because I enjoy helping people, right? And I know that helping is supposed to be a selfless thing, but I don't know. It feels good to me, so then I feel like, man, maybe I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. Maybe I'm doing it to get the epinephrine flowing. You know, I'm trying to, build myself up. But I think my heart's in the right place with it. But just knowing that I made a difference in someone's life, big or small, you know, it's a good feeling. I come from humble beginnings, and I just can remember just being a kid thinking like, man, I need some help, you know, like understanding that like, man, I'm gonna need some extra help, but then being able to look at myself and saying, you to help, you gonna have to do it.
Right.
Man, that's real. Well, I know we wanted to get into your transition after college into combat.
Yeah.
Obviously wrestling has a combat, side to it, but like into kickboxing, boxing, MMA, and what that was like. So hit him with it, Todd.
Basically, so what? First of all, what? So when you were in your wrestling career, what made you decide to actually like say, I want to do this MMA thing? Like this is kind of because. I mean, a lot of people think it's easy, but it takes guts to sit there and be like, all right, I want to get punched in the face and like, willing to do this kind of thing. It's not as easy as people just think because they see it so much now on TV.
Well, I've always been the kind of kid who was quick to fight. Not a hothead, but just I didn't turn down no fights.
You sound like 50 Cent. You said, look, people think because I don't want problems, like, because I say no problem means, like, I don't want problems. Like, I don't want problems. But if they say they want problems, I just say no problem,
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I like to fight. Me and my sister, we just was kids who it just came natural for us. We just like to fight each other, fight other kids. It didn't matter. But I would say seeing other wrestlers succeed at it in the capacity that they did. When you look at, I would consider George St. Pierre a wrestler.
Of course.
Right. I would consider Matt Hughes a wrestler. I was a big Matt Hughes fan because he would, shoot a double leg, carry the dude all the way across the cage, then drop him. I'm like, yeah. Then seeing Rampage, I mean, I don't even know if he was a real wrestler. Did he wrestle?
He did some grappling.
Was he a college?
I think people. No, I don't know about
Rashad
college.
Rashad was that Rashad was.
No, see, they was at each other, so I ain't really like Rashad like that. Right. Rampage was my guy. Right. But seeing him pick people up, power bomb them, and so in my mind he was a wrestler because he acted like one. And then seeing the molar walls and whatnot. So just seeing wrestlers have the success they was having. Who else? Dan Henderson. Mm-hmm. I just watched almost all his fights just because, I saw him on the circuit, and then I would see him 2 weeks later in the cage. I'm like, this dude is really doing it. You know what I mean? This dude is fighting and wrestling at the same time. I'm like, this dude is crazy.
So, Ortiz, Randy Couture.
Yep, Randy Couture. So just seeing these guys have that kind of success, I was like, okay, this is an outlet that where wrestling could shine, where you could use those talents and actually earn some money because, I mean, y'all were probably told the same thing. There's no wrestling and money. What you gonna do? Right. What you gonna do? And I mean, there is now. I wish I would have been born a little bit later because these dudes collected checks. Wrestling's been good. Yeah.
Fact. Yeah.
But I would say to anybody who's making that transition is you got to learn those other styles of fighting. I say first thing you should learn is how to protect yourself. That sounds corny or whatnot, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
But learn to protect yourself. Learn how to stop a punch. Learn how to stop a kick. Yeah. Because your wrestling don't mean nothing once you get kicked in the head. Yep. And we've seen people that we know get dropped. If you don't know what you're doing out there, thinking that you're just gonna go and grab somebody, like no, it don't work like that. Because I've seen plenty of wrestlers get beat up in street fights too. Yeah. In a bar fight, and the guy just boom, and there it is. Yeah, you about to shoot that double, but it just never got there. Right. Yeah, you just
so.
And the game's changed a lot. Just because you wrestle is not going to give you an easy path because now, if you look at the guys that are in the UFC and Bellator now, a lot of these guys are more complete.
Oh, yeah.
The sport looks so different.
Yep.
If we were talking about the 90s UFC,
right,
or even early 2000s, I would say, yeah, man, wrestlers come in and just dominate with no training.
Right.
But now everyone's picking up jiu-jitsu. Everybody's doing some sort of wrestling or judo or whatnot. And, they know the defenses. They know how to sprawl. They know how to underhook. They know how to wizard. They know how to clear themselves off a cage. And then if they're natural strikers, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage because you're just trying to wrestle. So you can't come in with that mindset of, I'm just going to dominate because I wrestled.
Exactly.
Learn a little something, how to move with your hands, how to defend yourself. And then I could say, yeah, you can dominate with your wrestling because once you get a guy down, you got to be able to do something.
Right.
And as we saw a lot in the early 2000s, guys was getting cut because they was taking people down and wasn't nothing happening, right? They called it lay and pray, and and you boo, boo, and look, Phil Davis, the dude was winning and was out because it was a wrestling match.
Yeah, NCAA champ.
Even Kobe Covington, UFC was about to cut him because of how he was wrestling, and he just wasn't as exciting with his press conferences and stuff like that, and so he had to switch it up. So it's not just a thing where we can just go in there and think we're just gonna take people down and that's it and lay on them. Like you said, you need to learn every aspect of the game, right? Like you need to get, because especially now these guys in the UFC, they have wrestling coaches, they have jiu-jitsu coaches, they got striking coach, they got every coach for every aspect. So you can't just think, I'm a wrestler, so I don't really need to focus on every aspect of the game because your career is going to be pretty short in MMA, I feel like.
And we've seen that recently, too.
You got us telling others how to stop us.
Right.
So we know. But I would say your blueprint, if you're a wrestler and want to get into fighting, is going to be Daniel Cormier and Khabib.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at those dudes and look how they use the wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, Daniel Cormier's striking is not that great, but, I mean, look what he does. He gets a collar tie. He's throwing uppercuts. He's putting you on the,
He's
on
making
the
it
wall.
dirty.
He's putting you in so many different wrestling positions that he just looks immaculate. You're like, man, that dude could beat up anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But his striking wasn't super crazy, but he made it look like it was the best. You know what I mean? And I just love that.
Yeah, he tied everything into it. Yeah.
And he's slamming people too.
Right.
So he's got you so worried about getting slammed
Yeah.
that he hits you so clean with a hook. Wow. You're just like, wow. That was spicy.
He said, "Bow, wow." What Muggs start out here rhyming, cow. Like that's man. There's a lot to unpack there. Okay, so if you're doing a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, or your top 5, the people you enjoyed the most watching, wrestlers that transition to MMA.
Oh, to
Who are
MMA?
Yeah.
Wrestlers. MMA. I got to put Randy Couture up there. Trailblazer for sure. Kamar Usman.
He's done a good job. Yeah, he's done a really good job.
Matt Hughes.
Right.
And one more. It had to be Cejudo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Then Kyven, who would be yours? Because I want to hear this because I have never really talked to you about that.
That have wrestling backgrounds.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like a little bit too close to the situation. Like, so like for me growing up, Mike Van Arsdale was one of my coaches. So like he was someone like I really, really looked up to. So like in 08, 09, he was Rashad Evans' wrestling coach. And so he would come back and he was our assistant coach at Waterloo East. But like he came back, he brought me like the UFC Ultimate Fighting. Because that was the first like show where they had it wasn't the Contender Series, but kind of like what McGregor and Chandler are doing right now.
Ultimate Fighter.
And so like I had like the dry fit tight Rashad Team Evans shirt, like black with the yellow with the UFC logo. I'm like, oh man. I was like, I'm about to go to college. I'm gonna win some NCAA titles. I'm gonna win some world titles. And I'm gonna go knock people out. Like that was just it. There was no really. What did you call it earlier? You said young ignorance, or just there was just
just childhood ignorance.
Yeah, childhood ignorance. Like I'm just like, yo, this is how it's happening.
Yeah.
We about to go do this, blah blah blah. And Mike was still competing too, like at like 39, 40. This dude, like we talked about last week, or last time we were in here, this dude had came in and beat me up in bare feet. You know what I mean? Like no shoes on. I'm like, this is out of pocket. I need to learn because there's something that he's doing. I want to learn how to do that to people too.
Yeah.
So for me, in terms of just like pure inspiration, Mike Van Arsdale, obviously he has the Waterloo tie, Iowa State tie as well. He's an NCAA champ in 88, I believe. And then who else is on that list for me? Cejudo, just because I believe, just like I think a lot of people, like greatest combat athlete of all time, just getting the Olympic gold and being able to go get those belts in the UFC. I really do enjoy watching DC, and then Khabib, just like the way he did it, and just knowing like character-wise in terms for me, like how Khabib carries himself. You know, like there's a certain threshold you don't cross, right? And if you cross that threshold, there's just gonna be a lot of melee. You know, so I would say those four.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. I was picking Americans.
Oh, but you picked me.
Nah, yeah, you did say Khabib.
Wait a minute. No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. He wasn't up there.
Oh, you talked about him earlier.
Yeah, I talked about him.
Oh, okay.
I felt like he said Khabib, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, okay. If we're only doing Americans, then DC,
Yeah.
Mike Van Arsdale,
You said Cejudo.
Cejudo, and I don't know if I have a 4. I don't know if I have a 4. Yeah, I don't know if I have a 4. It's me. I'm not there yet, but it's me.
Okay.
I think I could see myself doing it, and obviously, I think my window is small. Like I saw something the other day, that said, champs after 35. Like after 35, it's not a good look, right? And so I'm 30. So if there is a time that I'm going to be able to make that transition, it's going to have to happen. It's going to have to happen soon. But I feel like I would have the people around me and the support around me to make that transition pretty high level. So I feel confident about that. What's yours?
Like that. For me,
only Americans.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, I'm an Iowa Central boy, so we got a lot of guys up there on the wall that's in the UFC now. So, John Jones is one. Obviously, I'm gonna go with Cejudo, and I know a lot of people aren't gonna like this, but Colby Covington's up there with. You take away everything that's the outside of the sport. Just I'm talking about what he does in the octagon, and for a while there, like Usman looked like he was the greatest person ever, right? Like nobody was gonna be able to touch him, and you get this guy Colby Covington in there who's not the fastest. He's not like it's not like he's good at Muay Thai or anything like that. He's straight up just going in there. I'm gonna wrestle you, and I'm a stay in your face, and I'm gonna have cardio on my side, but. He's a tough dude. He got his jaw broken, and he was still fighting.
Still moving forward.
So I really like him. Let's see. What was that, 3?
Yeah.
Or are we going with 4?
Yeah.
Americans. I don't know, man. I've been liking Peter Yan.
Does he have a wrestling background?
He doesn't have a wrestling background. Oh, is that what we're going with? Well, he does have a wrestling background, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
He does, but he's not American, though. So I can't even say him.
Dang.
So I'm gonna go with Matt Hughes too, just because he's got some ties with Fort Dodge. I was in Fort Dodge for a while, so
that's solid.
Yep.
Man,
yeah, for sure.
This is a good one. I appreciate you coming on, Jerome. What else you got for us? You've obviously talked about like that transition. How do you feel about like your MMA career, your kickboxing, your combat career? Like, if you were to tell anything to your 8th grade self that just started combat, what would that message be?
I'm not sure. I would just, I would just say be confident in whatever you're doing. Take your time. Don't rush to get grown. Just believe in whatever it is you're doing, and it'll all make sense. So there's not too much more than that. You got to train, you got to practice, you got to put it in the work.
Yeah.
So
what's some things that you can tell, maybe like some kids coming up or high school kids, when it comes to picking a college that you want to attend, right? Because it's more to picking your school than just wrestling, unfortunately, right? Like we think it's just wrestling, but you gotta pick a school, right, where you see yourself succeeding in the classroom too, because without the classroom, you're not gonna be able to wrestle. So what's like a message you think you would give some kids or something when they are finally in that process of looking at a college or somewhere to eventually go and continue their athletic career?
Is the school choosing them, or are they choosing the school? Are we talking about someone who's a blue chipper, or are we talking about someone who's just looking to get into a school that they're choosing, more so from a privilege standpoint?
Yeah, we're just gonna say somebody who's getting looked at.
Okay.
By schools.
So I would say explore all options. Entertain all bids and see who comes up with the best bid first. Then, because you gotta get the money right first.
Right,
That's
of course.
most important, because that debt doesn't go away.
Right. At all.
It doesn't go away. Second, Visit the school, go there, see what the environment's like, and I would advise people not to go during a big event where there's
That's
like,
huge.
Or there's a huge parade, or they have this school spirit stuff, because you'll get caught up in that so quick, and
that's a one time they have that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
they want to get you down here for Visha. That's what it used to be here
Right.
in Ames. And it's crazy, and it's not like that all the time. Come see what it's like 99% of the time and see what the demographics are. If you're going to jail with the people that are there, talk to people who, you see who aren't part of the whatever program. If it's football, wrestling, gymnastics, it don't matter. Just talk to someone outside of that organization and see what those interactions are. Just a small conversation. Oh, hi. How you like it here, and things like that.
Yeah.
Talk to someone who doesn't have a vested interest in you. So you want to get the real
answer.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I say going on college visits during like their Spirit Week or whatever they got going on is a big mistake, unless you're gonna make multiple trips. So.
Right. No, I like that, because a lot of schools will get you like that, and then you're getting caught up in this thinking like, oh, every week school gonna be like this. Then you get up there and you like, hey, nothing popping off out here. Like, I thought it was gonna be like this every weekend. So now that is a good point for sure.
Man, well, I think that constitutes a mic drop. I think that's it for us, man.
Right,
you can't drop the mic because that mic is way too expensive. But yo, we really appreciate you coming on, man. You dropped a lot of gems, and you just had good storytelling. So we appreciate it, Jerome.
I appreciate it, man.
Well,
for sure.
Thank you for having me on.
Yep,
Of course.